I'm Carl, this is Studio In Car, and today I'm going to talk to you about Sony's line of head units. They're slightly confusing. We get it internally, we get a lot of questions asked about what's the difference between certain ones. And Matt's come up with a little spreadsheet that tells us the difference between each unit. Now, they go much further in depth, and they don't, to be fair, Sony can be a little bit tricky when it comes to specs. You know, there's some things just aren't spoken about or aren't listed, but these are the main spec differences between all of the head units, starting from the bottom, going up to the top. And funnily enough, I've put the bottom one at the top. So, here's this one. The XAV-AX1005 non-DAB. It's a CarPlay unit. So I'm going to run through them in order, each one of them, okay? So, the AX1000, I say it's the bottom one, the 1500 is the same. So they both start at 269. Both have a 6.2 inch resistive screen. And no DAB on either the 1500 or the 1000, okay? CarPlay for the 1000. Any of the 1500 units are what they call Sony WebLink, so it's mirroring, phone mirroring, so be that you know, Android phones basically, but not Android Auto. You can WebLink an Apple phone. You just need to put the app on there, plonk that on there, plug it in, and it will mirror link your phone. But it's not integrated like Android Auto or CarPlay. It's Sony's own version called WebLink. It's pretty cool. You can use YouTube for it. You can watch Netflix for it. There's many videos I've done, there's two in particular where I've used WebLink, and you can see the sort of feature set there. But yeah, so 55 watts per channel, so times 4. That doesn't change all the way up. So I probably won't mention that again, but the power's the same all the way up on each unit. So that leads me to believe that the internal amplifier is the same whether you spend the top money on the 8150, which is 619, or the bottom money, which is 269. I'm pretty sure the amplifier, the internal amplifier to run factory speakers is the same 55 watt per channel amplifier, times 4. So HDMI, no HDMI on this one. USB is on the front. Now, anything with a 1 at the beginning of it, so it seems to us here, has a USB input on the front. So you have to plug it in on the front. You can see this here. So that just plugs in there, that slides to one side, in it goes. Alright. Bluetooth, yes, they've all got Bluetooth, each one of them, so there's no point in bringing that one up again. Phone compatibility for this NA, so it's Apple based basically, so you would be using this as a CarPlay unit really. Upgradable firmware on this, again it's a yes for all of them, so you can have the firmware upgraded, or you can upgrade the firmware via USB on any one of the units. This also has a 10-band graphic EQ. Now on this particular model, it doesn't mention that on our sort of spec list on the site. It does for all of the others. I'm going to assume that this is the same. If it isn't, don't shoot me. So that's the 1000. Just a brief overview. 6.2 inch resistive screen, sort of FM, no DAB. It's got Apple CarPlay, 55 watts per channel, single USB on the front. It's got camera input for, if you've got a fitted camera. All of the AV units have a camera input. So 269, so that's the 1000. Next one up to 1500. So the 1500 WebLink unit, okay? We know that because it has a 1.5 at the beginning. So although it's made for iPhone, it will treat your iPhone like as if you were plugging in a USB drive. It'll play your music, it'll have certain artwork, things like that. But it's basically WebLink based. This is for if you're not particularly interested in CarPlay and you just want a head unit to stream Bluetooth to, plug an auxiliary input into, things like that. So yeah, specs are almost identical to the 1000, other than we've got CarPlay, we've got a WebLink based unit, okay? Amplifier's the same, 55 watts per channel. 1500, so it's a 6.2 inch resistive screen again, no CarPlay, front USB, because it has a, you know, a 1 at the beginning of its title, as we said earlier. Anything with a 1 at the beginning of the title has a single USB input. Web link, Bluetooth. The latest phone it'll run with is marked down as an XS Max. Again, firmware upgradable, so that'll probably move with the times. Upgradable firmware, yes. Graphic EQ, yes. So 10 band graphic EQ in this. Pre-out voltage, so there's 3 pre-outs and they're 2 volts. That changes halfway up the line where we get to a full 3 pre-out 5 volt output. So, you know, a notable shift up in the quality of the output. But these are, you know, they're priced particularly well and they need to be different from each other in some way, you know. 269 again, so matching sort of prices, both with similar looks, but both with slightly different feature sets. Let's move up to the 1005 DB. Now, if it's a Sony and it has a DB at the end, it means it's a DAB tuner. The 1005 DB, which is this one, is the first in the line that gives us DAB. All right. Again, 6.2 inch resistive screen, so the same screen. It's got the same body as the 1000, so the same sort of knob on the front, which a lot of people like. These have a very sort of OEM, sort of classic look. I really like it. DAB, it has Android Auto for the 1005. It says no, so I'm going to assume that that's correct, you know, so it's not an Android Auto deck. So no web link for the 1005, no Android Auto, so CarPlay only really, or you can Bluetooth your Android sort of based phone or something, you know, for phone calls, for music streaming, things like that, to cast music to the unit. Front USB again, remember, it's 1005, no web link, has Bluetooth. NA again for the phone, so again, firmware upgradable, you know, it'll work with the latest phone. 3 2-volt pre-outs again, and a graphic EQ. So, you know, a half decent pre-out for a mid-price deck. This deck is $309.99, alright? This one's for the guy that wants DAB over the AV1000. So if you want DAB, this is the one you go for. Now, they used to do these model numbers, each one of them, you could get them in an ANT version. It would say ANT after the model number. That would mean that Sony would bundle the unit with a DAB antenna. Now, they seem to be discontinuing each one of those models. You know, we're not seeing them come through anymore. Their availability is just getting lower and lower. I would have to assume that that's going to stop and we have to supply a third-party DAB antenna, which can cost from £20 to £40 unless you want to go sky high and actually try and get spot-on DAB reception. Personally, I don't think you'll ever get it, but you know, you can chase that, horses for courses. So that's the 1005 DB. XAV AX1005DB, brand new unit. This is the first in the line for Android Auto. So this is an Android Auto. It's an Apple CarPlay unit, so it'll do, you know, pretty much any phone. The only thing we found with Sony units, and every unit to be fair, you know, be it, you know, from most of the other marks that we've used, if you're using a phone that they've made 300 of, working some strange operating system, you're probably not going to find a head unit in the world that's going to work with it. But if you're using something from big brands, you know, Android based, then you're going to have a good time, and it'll plug in via Android Auto. You've got to allow it everything. It'll ask you a number of questions. You've just got to allow it everything, because one setting in Android Auto can really throw it off. So 3250, what else does it have over the rest of the units? Larger screen, so this is a 6.95 inch screen. Now this is the first of the units also that uses the knobless face. So it has the buttons along the bottom of the row. It's like a silver line here with the buttons. You've got home, which is for CarPlay and Android Auto, which will always bring you back to this screen rather than the home screen on Android Auto, or CarPlay, which is a button on the glass. Volume buttons, skip buttons, and then your option button, which if you press and hold will get you to voice commands, and various sort of sound options that are that are just almost like a quick fire button. You press the option button and it gets you to some menu systems that you'd have to be 1 or 2 clicks in, which is another beauty about Sony products really, is you're never really further than 2 clicks into anything. The GUI is better than any other unit available on the market, bar none. It's so slick and simple and quick to use. We use units from other people a lot of the time. While they may offer different feature sets, specific feature sets that a client may ask for, the unit is notably slower, notably sort of more laggy, and a little bit more gimmicky to look at. The Sony's very basic Windows 98-ish. It's real simple to use. Yeah. So what else has the 3250 got? We spoke about DAB. It's a 6.95 inch, still resistive screen. The 3250 is a WebLink radio as well, so Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, WebLink, same amplifier, no HDMI. It's got a rear USB input, so no USB input on the front, so your installer or us are going to have to run that USB down for you, and you can have it where you want rather than having it in the face of the radio. Now, Sony can do that on the other radios, but they're obviously not doing that. They're their entry-level decks. If you want to pay entry-level money, then that's the option you've got. If you want to go up a little further to the 3250, which is 359, then you can have your USB where you want it. You're probably going to have to give your installer a little bit more money because it's tricky getting your hands up in all them places. 3 2-volt pre-outs. This also says iPhone SE, 2nd gen. Again, take it with a pinch of salt because it's firmware upgradable as well. There's a tick in the yes box there. And graphic EQ. They've all got all sorts of other settings as well, like DSO and all these sound optimization things that we don't use. We just want the linear output from them because we put DSP amplifiers and DSPs on the other end of our head units. But you've got playability. If you want to just whack it in a Defender, leave your speakers stock, put it in your son or daughter's car for a birthday present or whatever, you can play with that EQ and get more beans out of your factory speakers, you know. So that is the 3250. This for me is kind of where it starts in terms of, you know, a proper head unit. You know, its feature set is such that you wouldn't really need to change it. You know, if you use an Android, you can use it. If you use an Apple, you can use it. If you want some decent SQ, it's a nice sounding deck. It's got the larger screen, so the bezel is thinner, so it looks pleasant in modern cars, as well as it does in older cars. So yeah, that's the 3250. Now it starts to get good, really good. Strangest one, because usually you would say the range topper is the most expensive, largest Fandango unit. Now, I genuinely believe this is Sony's range topper, and I also think it should be about 400 quid more expensive than it is. This is the 5650D, it's 489, and it's a full 7-inch, so 6.95 inch capacitive touchscreen. So all the rest are resistive, every one of them, even the 8150D, the 8050D, they're all resistive touchscreens. This is a capacitive touchscreen. That means it feels like your phone rather than a chip and pin reader, all right? It has a glass face, it has a completely flat, reflective face, it's gorgeous. It works faster than the rest of the units, so there's something going on with its CPU. Now, we can't dig out the info on that, but trust me, we use them all the time. It's quicker. Pre-outs shift up to 5-volt pre-outs, all right? So loads of sound coming out of this one. These sound spot on, all right? So there's changes internally there as well. Same amplifier if you're going to use your speakers, so you know, if you're going to use a onboard amplifier, it's got the same sort of 4x55 watts. I don't know if there's anything internally changed there, you know, but they keep that under wraps. They give you a very basic 4x55 watts, you know, no real news on the amp. Like I say, 489, 6.95 inch screen, capacitive touchscreen, DAB, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, 2 USB on the rear, all right? So you've got a USB that's specific for, say, mass storage devices, USB sticks or dongles that you might keep music on, or yeah, just another device, another USB capable device. And then you've got your smartphone input. So if you're going to run Android Auto or CarPlay, you would plug your proprietary cable into that one, and then off you go. Your installer can put it, you know, anywhere that you would like in the car. Or maybe you want your mass storage in the glove box and you want your CarPlay in the center console, whichever. No DAB antenna, so you would need to have a DAB antenna as well as a package. So 2 USBs on the back. This has web link as well, Bluetooth. Again, it's as latest as the SE 2nd gen. Firmware upgrades will get it past that, as I've said. Graphic EQ, yeah, I mean, you're more than likely, if you're going for this, you're more likely going to have something on the back end of it anyway, some form of amplifier, because you want to, it's a good deck. Firmware upgradable, and away we go. I use one of these, and this is probably our best seller as well. Like we've done a number of these, whether it's in your sort of older gentleman's car and he wants to start using nav from his phone and he's fed up that his radio's broken, or in your young guy's car who wants a system that's knocking, then he'll use this as his first sort of you know, as his source unit. But I genuinely believe the 5650 is the best sounding double DIN unit that's out there. Prove me wrong. Last but not least, now this is kind of a double whammy, because this is the 8050D, which we've got a couple of in stock. Very popular unit for your van guys, Defender guys, people who want that larger screen that sort of rises up. The 8150, which will be replacing this at some point, but only offers HDMI as an extra over the 8050D. Okay, so they brought out the 8150D, the only modification being HDMI, and this will become, say, the 22-23 unit, and this is the 20-21 unit. Hence the single figure difference, which is surprising really from Sony that it's not called something completely different. This one works a little bit differently, a little bit of a less conventional head unit. It's a single DIN, so it goes in a single DIN hole, and then it has a 9-inch front screen with a nice thin bezel, resistive screen, and what it does is, I'm pretty sure it uses the same if not a similar amount of pixels, and it blows the screen up. So you have slightly lower resolution on this screen than you do on the other screens, but you have a much larger and genuinely easier thing to use because it's just much bigger. You know those massive calculators with huge buttons? That's what this is like. It's like something out of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Anyway, so spec-wise, it doesn't lose out to, you know, in spec to the 5650D, you know, the range top in double DIN, other than in two areas. So 8.95 inch screen, so it's the largest screen. It is a resistive screen, you know, so you have to sort of press to command. It has DAB, Android Auto, CarPlay, same 55 watt amplifier, HDMI input. This has HDMI input as well, which I forgot to say. One USB. Now that USB actually plugs into the screen, goes around the screen and through the back of the deck, and then plugs in again. So if you're installing this yourself, make sure you fit that correctly. The first one of these I did, I just plugged the USB straight into the screen, and it just wasn't the way it's meant to be. Single USB on the back, once you fitted it. WebLink, Bluetooth, 3 5-volt pre-outs. So this must have a very similar output stage to the 5650, okay? I've had these back to back in multiple cars and multiple systems of my own, and there's no, you know, notable difference between the two in terms of sound. There is in terms of functionality. The 5650 is much nicer to use. All right, it feels nicer, it works quicker. The 8050D sounds the same. All right, upgradable firmware, graphic EQ, the same as all of the rest of the line. So hopefully, I know that's a lot to take in, so you're probably going to have to pause, go back, look at the certain models, you know, and kind of make your own mind up on where you would like to be. There is a certain logic to what they're doing with their, you know, with their numbers and with where their head units sit in the range. You know, the entry models lose out on certain spec. You have to have USB on the front. The entry model doesn't have any DAB. things like that. You know, they start introducing things like Android Auto, Carplay and WebLink, you know, in the top decks. You know, but we expect that, you know, you pay your money and, you know, that's how the world works. So I thought it's worthwhile that we put a little video up that explains the difference between the model numbers, the things that we get from the model numbers, the prices, and putting it in one place on this video so that you don't have to sit there staring at your screen when you're looking at our website wondering what Sony head unit to buy. If this video is too confusing, because it's starting to confuse me now, you can always pick up the phone or drop us an email. Let us know what you're looking for, what you want from a head unit or an upgraded system, and we'll do our best to point you in the direction of the correct head unit. Trust me, the sale of these products isn't margin based, all right? It's about getting the right unit that fits the right system so that we can get just a top system in your car, so then you're happy and then you will use us. That's where our business works, all right? I'm Carl, this is Studio in Car. This has been Sony's head unit model lineup. If you enjoy the video, let me know. I know it's cheesy, but likes and subscribes helps us know that you're watching and we're engaging with you. You know, if it's a crap video, we don't want to be putting them out constantly because we're not trying to push you guys away, we're trying to bring you in. So, yeah, take it easy guys.